Welcome back, Johnny Watchers. So it's been this year's main challenge to recreate this Fred Reed Howling Griffon army. And with many months of toiling away at the painting table, I have finally got to my last 3 figures. It's now time to paint the army's heroes. The first one is going to be the captain of my army, and this guy was the 1991 Games Day special release. Next up, we have the old Blood Angels Death Company chaplain. In Fred's original army, he actually converted the staff of the chaplain to be a little bit longer, but I couldn't bring myself to do that to my chaplain, so I've kept him as he is. And lastly, we have the librarian. So this guy doesn't match Fred Reed's original librarian that he used, because I think he must have made some form of conversion, and I can't work out for the life of me what he did. So what I did instead is choose my favourite ever librarian sculpt, and I'm going to run with that, and this guy is exactly that. So first off, we are laying down the base colours. First off with the yellow, and then coming in with the red to create those quarters that the Howling Griffons are so famous for. So a little side note on this 1991 Games Day limited edition model. He was extremely hard to find and was very expensive. Perhaps the most expensive single miniature I've ever bought for the size of the miniature. I felt like I had to do it to give the army the true feel that Fred Reed gave, so I did spend the money on it, but my god, he is a lovely, lovely miniature. So in a batch painting style, I then come in to the next 2 miniatures. Staying on the chaplain, I then come in with the black base coats, and then I carry on to the other 2 miniatures to do the same. Continuing on with the base coats, I'm now coming in with the blue areas. My blue of choice is Magic Blue by Vallejo. So a unique step for the captain, which is going to base coat the face, using Flesh Base by Vallejo. I think it worth noting that on all of these base coat steps, I'm laying down at least 2 layers, maybe even 3 to 4, to give me that opaque finish. Using Stonewall Grey, I'm going to come into the hair, base the hair. So to any skulls on the miniatures, I'm going to use a Bone White by Vallejo. Any purity seals get a base coat of Warlord Purple. With the base coats done, it's time to go in for some washes. The first wash is an Agrax Earthshade, and this is watered down to about 2 to 1 water to Agrax. Once the wash is dry, I'm going to come back in with the base coats. So the first one here is Avalanche Sunset over the yellow, and Scarlet Blood to the red. Once I've finished going back over my base colours, I'm then coming in with a glaze over the yellow and red. I use a Moon Yellow by Vallejo as the glaze. This glaze will give a vibrancy back to the yellow. And using a Red Ink by Vallejo, I do exactly the same to the red. Whilst I allow the glazes to dry, I come in with a metal colour steel to all the metal areas, and using a metal colour gold for any gold areas. So when painting yellow, I prefer to shade it first. I do that with a glaze of a mix of 3 to 1 yellow to red. I then glaze down to where I feel the shadows will be, making sure I pull my brush to the darkest point. This is a slow process as you need to keep going over and over to build up the gradients. Once I've glazed in the shadows to the yellow, I then come in with the highlights. Using glazes again, I simply reverse the process and push up towards the highlight areas. I then come in with a final edge highlight of ice yellow. Next up, I'm highlighting the red, and I'm going to come in with the same mix as I used to shadow the yellow. So this is a glaze, and I'm just glazing it up to the highest point of the highlight. Working the highlights up by simply adding yellow to the mix. So next up, I'm going to be looking at the blue areas. First of all, coming in with the base coat to go over that wash and bringing that blue back to life. I then start adding white to the mix. This then creates my highlights, until I get to almost a white highlight. So after the Agrax Surfshade wash, the skulls on the miniatures are looking a little bit dirty, so I'm going to come back in and clean them up with the original base colour, and then just give them a little shade back down with the Agrax again. Using a light grey, I'm then going to come in and edge highlight the bolt gun or any black areas. So here I'm using the Agrax Surfshade to shade down the skulls as mentioned before. So next up, I'm going to paint in the eyes. So for the librarian, I'm going to come in with some greens. Those greens are the base coat of Goblin Green, a first highlight of Escapina Green by Vallejo, and then the final highlight is a Livery Green by Vallejo. For the chaplain, I'm using a red eye, and I'm using a gory red first, then I'm going to come in with a scarlet red, and then a slightly yellow and red mix to give the final highlight. So back on the commander here, we are now highlighting the flesh, coming back in with the flesh base from Vallejo, and then we'll highlight up from there. The second highlight is then a Cadian flesh, and then after that we finish off with a Menoth white highlight, and that will finish the face off there, apart from the eyes. So to finish the model off, I just need to paint the eyes in, simply putting in the whites of the eyes and then a little dot in for the pupil. So there you go, with a bit of green basing and a banner, these guys are complete. There were a few techniques and a few items that I didn't cover on this video, but I wanted to enjoy painting these, as these were going to be the last 3 guys of the army for now. So those of you that have been following this project, there's going to be some army shots coming very soon. Look out for them. I'm actually very excited about that. This has been such a fun project and really brought me back to my roots of wargaming. I just hope I've done Fred Reed proud. So guys, if you want to come and chat to me, you can always find me on my Discord. There is a link in the description below. Please comment, like, share and subscribe. It always helps the channel. And as always guys, I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe.